It's like I'm trying to remember what the hell I'm doing here, but I'm here. That's the big thing. And you're here. And I can't think of a better welcome back than to have all of us together. But thank you to all of you who've been saying, hey, welcome back, welcome back. It's good to be back. I really had a busy whiplash kind of week, but I am back. How you doing, John Stevenson? Hi, Mickey. Good to see you. Hi, Deborah Neighbors. Deborah messaged me earlier and said, hey, is there a show tonight? It's like, yes. I was actually going to try to do one on Wednesday night as well, but I ended up having some technical issues. I was going to give you guys a surprise show because I got back a little earlier than I was anticipating. So I was like, well, maybe I'll do a show, but it didn't turn out to be in the cards. So I didn't do a show, but I'm back tonight as I promised. And hopefully you all are seeing me. Hey, Justin Good Earth over on Rumble. Good to see you, brother. And yeah, it's great to be back with you guys. Of course, I miss doing the shows. I always do when I'm not doing them. This is really a big part of my world. You know, I've just always adored the opportunity to get together with you guys and to talk about all the strangeness that we deal with in the paranormal. So I don't know. It's where I live, but welcome back, Kata. Yeah. I want to be all Rorschach. Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah. Anyway, good to see you guys. Hope you made it okay without me. It looks like you all managed to find your way back, which is the biggest thing. I always worry about that. It's like, God, if I leave, are they going to come back or are they going to find something better? So I'm glad you guys made it back. It's best you rest up, Brent, and relax so don't burn out. You know, honestly, though, Phil, I don't feel like what I do here is work. I really don't. I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy having a show. I enjoy the fact that the show means something to other people other than me. I think that's just about the most awesome thing that I could ask for. And so, I don't know. I feel exceptionally blessed. How you doing, Car Juice, too, over on Rumble? Good to see you. So we got 2 over there in Rumble, at least 2 that I can see. That doesn't mean that's all that's here, but that's what I can see. Ooh, Nate's rolling deep. God bless you, Nate. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. You guys are the best. Thank you, T-Bone. I appreciate that, though. I'm glad you guys think so. I mean, I hope you guys always do enjoy these shows. Again, it's a labor of love, but it's something I do indeed love. So, I don't know, but I did miss it. I really did miss it, but it was a wonderful week. I went out to Tennessee. I actually went to my first rodeo, folks. I went and saw my first rodeo ever, and that was pretty cool. It was all bull riding. Like the whole rodeo was bull riding. It wasn't like, although I'd like to see like barrel racing and bronc busting and stuff like that. I think that's fascinating, but I'm here to tell you, those bull riders are cut from a whole different kind of steel than I am. Metal, I was going to say, but it's like, they're definitely steel. Those guys are getting on these, 1,800, 2,000 pound animals that are really pissed that they're on them. And they're really working hard to get them off. And how those guys don't end up getting busted up with every ride, I don't know. Because, man, they get thrown around like Q-tips. Those things are such powerful animals. It was really, really cool. Some people actually rode the 8 seconds. I was a little surprised to find out. I don't know if you know about bull riding, but I knew absolutely almost nothing other than people get on a bull and the bull doesn't want them there. And they, they go wacky. They just go out of their brain and try to get them off. But, Phil Funk says, Tennessee, you're the only 10 I see. Ah, you slick bastard. But yeah, I mean, those guys are just busting and some of them made it 8 seconds. What I didn't know was that if you make it 7.5 seconds and then you get blown off, too bad. It doesn't count at all until you hit that 8 second mark. So that 8 second mark is like the deal. And then you get graded on A, how did you ride? B, what's the reputation of the bull that you managed to hang on to? And so on and so forth. But I'm like, my God, man, these people are getting thrown around like Kleenex. and it's not worth a damn thing unless they make it at 8 seconds. So I was like, what the hell? That is crazy. I know a guy that was paralyzed. He was a professional bull rider, and he was paralyzed. He's in a wheelchair from bull riding. But I saw this one dude get stepped on by a 2,000-pound bull, and that guy still got up and walked out. And I'm like, man, I would have been curled up in a fetal position crying, and they would have had to drag me out with a stretcher. But that guy got up. He's like, hits his hat off and stuff, and just walks out of there. He had a limp, but man, that dude walked out. So, but it was cool. I missed you guys too, Kitty. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Barbara Mora's in here. Phil Funk is here. He was the first one in that I saw. Red Tip Savage is in here. Good to see you. That's great. Mickey G again, of course. And who else is here? I'm going to just give some quick shout outs to you guys because I missed you. Rachel Gets It Right is here. How you doing, Rachel? Good to see you. John Temperin is in the house. Freaky Geek is here. T-Bone. John Stevenson. So the Johns are represented. Good. Barbara Mora, of course. Good to see you, Barbara. And let's see. I'm just scrolling quick. North of Alabama, Cryptid, Mr. and Mrs. NAC. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in and being a part of the show again. Any new names here? Annie Manuel is here. Good to see you, Annie. Great to have you here. Nathan Nate's here. And I'm looking up. And of course, thanks again for the donation, Nate. That's really, really cool, brother. Again, it's not expected, but it's definitely appreciated. So, I think that's most everybody as I'm scrolling quickly up here. But we got a lot to get to. Sheldon's going to be joining us as soon as he can. He is working his way back to his home where he's going to log in and become part of the journey tonight as well. Bull riders, Annie, tenderizing your steak. I think their steak is getting tenderized, Annie, honestly. I don't think it much matters to the bull. But cheers to you, Red Tip. Good to see you, man. Thank you for coming in and being a part of the journey through the paranormal portal. All right, let me get back to the current stuff. Oh, my God, T-Bone's gifting memberships here. So, Mr. and Mrs. NAC got one of them. The free memberships. Blue Crew's got one. Good for you, Blue. Good to see you here. Amy Creel got one. Good to see you, Amy. Thank you for coming in and being a part of the show. And congratulations. The Dachshund Master is here. Good to see you. And Anthony Swords is here. Well, wonderful. Obviously it's a double entendre here with the gifting memberships, because it's really cool that you guys want to, help the show out, make other people members and stuff. That's really cool. It's a great, great thing. But the other thing that's cool is that when I see who gets these memberships, oftentimes these are people that are sitting back and they're just watching, they're just listening or whatever. But it gives me a chance to see names pop up that I haven't seen before, because I can only get the names of the people that are actively chatting. So I can't acknowledge everybody that might be out there listening and taking part in the show. So it's kind of cool to see these different names pop up. Very, very cool. Let's see. What have I missed? A Little Twisted popped in. Good to see you. Very cool. Paranormal Paul, man, just come in. How you doing, brother? I haven't talked to you in a long time. Hope you're doing good, man. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming in. So, yeah, I guess we're gonna push the show ahead here. Freaky Geek, how you doing, man? And yeah, it's hard to know who's lurking. Yeah, you just never know until they pop up like that. And oftentimes either they decide to finally say something. Justin Gooder is popping in over from X as well. Good to see X needs some work on the streaming. Can only chat if you click your profile pic, not the post. Huh. I didn't know that. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate you checking that out, though. It's nice to see it. And, of course, we're streaming live on X. We're streaming live on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook Live, as well as Twitch. So wherever you're watching from, Norman Neighbors is in here, too. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. But wherever you're watching, I really appreciate you watching. And if you don't mind saying hi so that I see that all these platforms are working, that's great. Because otherwise I got to try to do it as I'm doing this on the fly. So did I hear something about OnlyFans? No, not from me. Nope, trust me. You don't want to see less clothes on this. I'm just saying. I don't even want to see less clothes on this. So I couldn't imagine doing it to you guys. But you'd be surprised at what kind of things people do on OnlyFans, and they get attention for it. And it's like, why? I don't know. I just don't know. Anyway, that's my own personal hang up. I see somebody named Tina. Somebody says, hi, Tina. Who's Tina? Do I know Tina? I'm looking. Trying to scroll up. Oh, Hooking Good Creations by Tina. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. I do know a Tina, as it turns out. I just forgot. Sissy Lawson's in here. Good to see you, Sissy. Thanks for coming in and being a part of the journey as well. So, but we're going to get to the news. We're going to start there. Only Portal fans. Well, that could be something, I guess. Yeah. Where I actually put clothes on for money. Maybe that's what I should do. I should start an OnlyFans where I start naked and you guys got to pay me to get dressed. I'll bet you I'd make a killing. I crack myself up. Sorry, folks. I'm my own biggest fan as far as my own humor. But anyway, just in time for the news, you are PGing exactly. Let's get to the news and find out just what the hell I pulled up for you guys tonight. We'll go through 3 articles. And by God, I hope they're good. I pulled up a bunch, actually, since I was gone for a week. There's extra news out there, so I pulled up a bunch of them. But we'll read through a few tonight. And tomorrow night, we got a guest on. We are welcoming a gentleman that goes by the name of Ullerson. And he is the property owner and of Dogman Ranch, which is property that Tex Wesson has been involved in, and as has Monica and several other people in the crowd have been investigating. So we're going to have him on tomorrow night and dive into just what the hell's going on down there, because it sounds like a whole bucket of weirdness is happening. Tex just was down there recently, and he had an experience with what he thinks is a pale crawler. Or maybe it wasn't so pale, because it sounds like it was gray colored, but about the same size and very, very, very creepy. So we're going to talk to him. So Ullerson will be on tomorrow night with me here on the portal, and we'll dive into all of his experiences and get as much out of him. Now, remember, when we have guests on the show, guys, you guys are part of the interview. So if you have things you want to ask, feel free to put them in the chat. Just use capital letters. They're easier to see that way if you use all capitals, and we'll be sure to ask him your questions as well as mine, and just see what he's got to say. So that'll be tomorrow night here on the show, just so you know. All right, so it's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to bring you up to speed, get you all well informed, because it's time for the news. John, I love it. You're still saying that. I appreciate it. It's okay, Paul. Just appreciate you being here. No dancing is necessary. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'll be your anchor, Brent Thomas, and we're going to dive into a few news stories, and hopefully you find them wildly entertaining and fun, and we'll see what you think. I don't even remember what I pulled up, to be honest. So it's going to be news to all of us. I'll probably remember when I see them. But at any rate, throughout the course of the shows, we utilize a lot of different sites here on the show. And I just want to encourage you guys, as always, please support these sites. They are so well done. They are incredibly well maintained and current. And these guys are working hard, and they're putting out top-notch shows or top-notch websites, and so please support them. I know you're into the paranormal because you're here, and all of these sites have amazing information and articles regarding all kinds of different phenomena, and there's so much more to see than we could ever cover on these shows in just the little snippets that we do cover. So go check them out, go read some articles, go give them your love, because your traffic does keep the lights on. And these sites are amazing. It would break my heart to see any of them go anywhere, because I just love cruising through them and looking for things to talk with you guys about. So at any rate, the first site that we're going to be using here on the show is the one that we always start the shows with, in the news, because it is essentially the anchor point for the Paranormal Portal news. And I'm speaking of a site called unexplained-mysteries.com. Got to wait for my computer to catch up. Here it comes. And this one is kind of cool. It's coming from the Creatures, Myths, and Legends files of unexplained-mysteries.com. And this is kind of interesting. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing something that's really exciting. But there's been some okay stuff in the past, but nothing I would say is convincing. And I'm speaking of the Loch Ness Monster. Well, allegedly, there's the Loch Ness Research Center is a full-time Nessie hunter. So we got that going for us, folks. A full-time Nessie hunter. So if you're thinking, what do I want to do with my life? What do I feel like I'd be good at? You might be a good Nessie hunter. You just got to move over to Loch Ness and probably spend a lot of time on a boat. I think. Thank you, Sissy. Sissy says, I like the paranormal news better than the other news that's happening these days. Well, we aim to please here on the show, so I'm glad you do. All right, well, let's get to this article and find out just what the hell they're looking for. Maybe you qualify. I don't know if they'll have information on submitting resumes, but let's look into it. From unexplained-mysteries.com, maybe, if my computer catches up. Did it give me a exclamation point? No. Ooh, it's being a pain. Let me do this. I'll have to do it manually. Here we go. Unexplained-mysteries.com brings us Loch Ness Research Center is recruiting a full-time Nessie hunter. So there you go, folks. Might be something out there for you. Anyone with a keen interest in searching for the Loch Ness Monster may have the chance at their dream job. There's perhaps no cryptozoological creature as famous as Scotland's enigmatic Loch Ness Monster, yet to date, there remains no, or there, I don't know if it remains, but there is no conclusive physical evidence that the beast even exists at all. Well, I'm pretty sure they're seeing something out there. However, prospective Nessie hunters are in for a chance to turn their passion into a career. The Loch Ness Center in whatever the hell that word is, Drummadroshit. I don't mean to cuss, it just sounds like that. I'm probably mispronouncing the hell out of that word, whatever that is. A small village on the shores of Loch Ness is currently looking for a full-time Nessie hunter to help scour the waters for the elusive beast. We're on the hunt for an adventurous skipper to take the helm of its deep scan cruise vessel. That sounds pretty legit, right? Meaning the successful candidate will spend their days searching for the legendary Nessie while navigating the world-famous waters of Loch Ness, the ad reads. The unique opportunity based in the heart of the Scottish Highlands requires a passion for storytelling in order to give guests unique insights into the famous monster sightings, as well as sharing the history of the world's most famous loch. The job looks to be well paid, with an equivalent daily wage of over $230. The successful applicant must also be a competent skipper with a strong understanding of maritime operations, the ads read. Applications close in just 2 days' time, so if you're interested, now's the time to apply. Check out the Facebook post below for more details. Well, there you go. If any of you are, when was this posted? When was this? March 7th. That's today. So you got 2 days. Looks like the end of the weekend to get, well, maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know if this was yesterday posting, and it's because I think Unexplained-Mysteries is out of Europe somewhere, possibly the UK. So their tomorrow is, or their today is our tomorrow, or at least they're like 8 hours ahead of us or whatever. I think if they are in the UK, might be longer. But at any rate, you might become a Loch Ness monster hunter. So it's a possibility. I'll put the link in the chats if anybody wants to get in contact with them and submit their resume. And if you do, just remember you got to show up for Paranormal Portal interviews every once in a while to discuss what's going on over in the Loch. Because if it's not Scottish, it's crap. Just saying. It's what I heard.
Good new job.
Time for a new job, Sheldon. You might want to turn in your keys for a different line of work. You could become a Nessie hunter.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
It's funny because just earlier today, I believe it was earlier today, not or last night, but I was watching Fox and apparently there was a new sighting of Nessie.
Oh yeah. I saw some blurb about that. I haven't seen that. I haven't looked into it though, but apparently there's a pretty good picture out there that was captured very recently. But did you see the image?
Yeah. No, it sounds great, but when I looked at the picture, it's literally just this. Unless I wasn't looking in the right spot, it looked like there's just this dark spot in the water. That's it. So I was kind of looking like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. I mean, it's clickbaity, right? So
it was kind of clickbaity. It was like, oh wow, okay, that's Nessie for sure. Okay,
it's just your fever, Paul. There's no other voices here. It's just me. Paul's been feeling sick, so he said, "I thought I heard voices." You did. You've heard. Mr. Sheldon Thomas is joining us, ladies and gentlemen. So we are all capped out here and ready to go.
That's right.
Red Tip Savage says, heads pop up from the water, turns and looks at you and then goes back under the water. Yeah, I mean, that's a good sighting, I guess, if that happens.
Yeah.
Blondes and Booze Paranormal, are they in here? Is one of the Blondes and Booze in here? I didn't see that pop up.
Oh, yep, I do. Yep, there. Yep.
Is it Krista? Oh, wonderful to see you, Krista. Thank you. I'll be putting your podcast together this weekend, Krista. Diana Daniels Orcutt says, I'd 1,000% love to be a Nessie hunter. There you go, Diana. Good to see you, by the way. I've missed you. Diana's one of my OG audience members. Back in the day. She's an original.
Whoa.
Yeah. Great to see you pop up. Thanks for coming in. But yeah, if you want to be a Nessie hunter, it's your chance. So follow that link that I posted in the chat and maybe you can submit your resume. Maybe they'd like some yank from over here across the pond over there driving boats and talking about Nessie. It might be okay. They probably understand you better. Because if you listen to a real strong Scottish brogue, oh my gosh, it's almost like a completely different language. There's like the Hollywood version of Scottish accent, and then there's the real deep, profound Scottish accent. It's like, what the hell did they just say? And I love accents. Don't get me wrong. I'm not being disparaging at all, but yeah, maybe they would appreciate a good American accent. Just get a little America over there. But anyway, that's the news, the first article anyway. So you showed up just in time. You really did. You made good time. Did you just pin the pedal to the floor just to get here? Is that what you did?
Well, when a lesson starts early, it can end early.
Especially if they suck, right?
Okay. Yep. We're going home. Yep. We're going home.
That about wraps it up for today. Why don't you drop you off and we're done? Just get it over with. I'm just saying, they it's worth not dying for.
Yeah.
I don't think the audience even knows what you do for a living. So,
I'm a driver instructor.
He's a driver instructor, ladies and gentlemen. He teaches people how to drive.
That's right.
He's got one of those the additional brake pedals, and
Yep.
God, I can't even imagine what they'd be like, just to have some scrubby, not good driver, and all you have is a brake pedal to make things right.
Well, you just grab the wheel. That's all. You reach over, grab it, pull it, in the right direction. I had to do that a couple times. The first lesson of today, actually. Yeah.
Oh, did you really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's some really great young drivers out there, but there's some really struggling drivers as well, and that's okay. We all start somewhere, but
They're probably
It's
from
just a fact of the
Wisconsin.
matter.
Probably from Wisconsin. No, you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen. I grew up in Minnesota, right on the border, right across the
Yeah.
river was Wisconsin, and they used to have yellow license plates, and we used to have a joke. It's like, what do you give a driver that fails his driving test 3 times? A yellow license plate. Thank you. So we always bagged on the Wisconsin drivers. And granted, a lot of them really did suck. Not just in our region anyway.
Yeah. There's a lot of strugglers out there. We'll say that.
So yeah, there you go. All right, well, here we go. We're going to get to the next article. This is also from unexplained-mysteries.com, ladies and gentlemen. Sheldon, I'm going to give you got a lot of sky above your head, but I'm going to reposition your camera crop if you don't mind.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, why not?
Rather look at more of your body than the northern lights above your head. There we go. Oh. Now you look like you're framed a little better. All right. This one is from Metaphysics and Psychology, and I don't think this is news to any of us. This is literally kind of preaching to the choir here, but this one has to do with the psychic ability. A fruit fly just went up my nose. God. We had
something sweet up there.
Yeah. There's all kinds of sweet here. No, I bought bananas and you always start out with good intentions, but then they kind of get lost like behind the bread. And then you pull them out and it's like they look like all kinds of hell. And you put them in the garbage, but by then you've got a whole flock of these damn little fruit flies. And for some reason they love to like come by my face all the time, and I'm always swatting them away. Not that you guys needed to know that, but yeah, don't leave your bananas laying around. Hi, Grateful Owl. Good to see you. Ristol is in here. Good to see you, Ristol.
Oh.
Sugar Britches. Good to see you as well. Great to have you guys here.
Yeah,
All right, well, this is the one where I say we're preaching to the choir here. All of us knew this, but it's nice to know that maybe more people are starting to grab onto this possibility. This comes from the Metaphysics and Psychology section of unexplained-mysteries.com. Oh, no, it's just not going to work there, is it? Boy, my buttons are being a pain in my tail. Let's get to it here. I have to do it manually. Everyone has psychic abilities, controversial new study suggests. Well, there you go. I don't think that's news to any of us. We often, throughout the course of these shows, throughout the course of discussions, have pretty much, I've never heard anyone speak to the contrary. It's like it's pretty universally in our sphere to recognize that, yeah, it's not some people just have this special gift and other people don't. It's just some people are just more naturally tuned in, or they've worked to tune it in, and most of the rest of us haven't, So let's see what this says. A new study suggested that our innate psychic abilities may be getting suppressed by the brain. Oh, that damn brain.
Yeah.
The question of whether or not psychic abilities exist has remained a point of contention for years. While concrete evidence of abilities such as telepathy, telekinesis, and clairvoyance continues to remain elusive, some people are absolutely convinced that such abilities really do exist. There have been scientific studies into the phenomena. Enter Dr. Morris Friedman, a Canadian researcher who has headed up a recent study which alleges to have discovered the part of the brain responsible for inhibiting psychic abilities. Whoa. This is, of course, quite a claim, given that the existence of such abilities remains unproven. It's because that part of the brain is there, maybe? I don't know. According to the study, all humans may possess innate psychic abilities. Elaine, you remembered.
Elaine. Well done.
We love you, Elaine. Thank you. To investigate further, Dr. Friedman and colleagues used a technique known as repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Wow, whatever the hell that is, to temporarily alter the brain activity of volunteers using magnetic pulses. I wonder if that's like that God helmet, Krista. I wonder if that's a similar phenomena. This, according to the study, helped the team identify an area of the brain responsible for inhibiting psychic abilities, even enabled volunteers to influence a random number generator. Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Now, I will say, and I think most people have experienced this, that I think that people can literally influence things around us.
Mm-hmm.
How many times, and I know maybe this isn't the greatest example, but this is one of those examples where I've personally seen it myself. You're like in a situation, it's like, I got to get going. I really got to get somewhere. Your car won't start. And it's like, man, and you wind it and it's not going, and you're just like, and you just focus on it. It's like, it's got to start. I got to get there. And then you turn the key and it's boom. It starts up. Now, is that for sure some mind over matter thing? Well, maybe not, but what if it is? And everybody, I think, has experiences like that. Everybody has had experiences where the TV won't work. I don't know what's wrong with the TV. It's just not working. And then boom, it works. A radio station won't come in. You really want to hear the song. And you kind of focus on it and you do this mental thing and boom, it starts coming. I don't know, any number of things like that. And so I think that we all could influence those things. I've had it happen with computers. There was one time that I had a technical issue with the show and I couldn't get something to work. I had this setting issue because of an update and it screwed up everything. And I was literally in moments to showtime, not sure what to do. And I talked about it here on the show, but suddenly I was just like, oh, what do I do? And then I just clicked it one more time. The problem that I had corrected itself, and I have no idea how. I mean, it literally recreated the setting and everything to make it work correctly that had been corrupted. Now, how? I don't know. And then maybe there was a cached version somewhere. I have no idea, but it defied all logic for me. That suddenly this thing that I couldn't get configured correctly, like it auto-configured, like someone came in and went, ooh, and it worked. And it's crazy. So,
yep.
All right,
I've had plenty of those. Usually if I just slap my computer, it starts working.
Yeah, a good hammer helps sometimes. All right, to investigate further, Dr. Freeman and colleagues used a technique known as repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. That's what we're talking about, the God helmet. That's used in paranormal investigating by some people, and it's supposed to realign your brain waves and stuff to communicate more better, or to receive at least more clearly. Paranormal Paul used it in one of their more recent investigations, and it looked like it was really phenomenal. These findings are potentially transformative for the way we view interactions between the brain and seemingly random events, says Dr. Friedman. But could this really be proof that psychic abilities are the real deal? Suffice it to say, some of this nature is typically met with a great deal of skepticism from the scientific community at large. Yeah, clearly. Even so, it does make for an interesting read. You can check out the study for yourself here. I'm going to put links to this in the chat. You guys can check it out. It might be something worth reading. I don't know if I'll get time to read it, but I would definitely like to. I would definitely like to have time to read it, but I'm putting it in the Rumble chat and in the YouTube Twitch chat, which hopefully will show up for all of you guys out there on whatever platform you're with. I don't know if it does. If you guys can see the live chats in Facebook or X, but hopefully you can. But anyway, very cool article.
Also, we got to thank Maggie and Grateful Owl for renewing theirs as well.
Ooh, they remembered. God bless you both. Yeah, I'd wear the helmet for sure. I'd be willing to try it out.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario, you become aware of a lot of things around you that you didn't know were there, and that might be a little creepy. But I've been in plenty of haunted locations, so and I know I've been around some things. Sometimes things that were less than happy to see me, but most of the time they're very benign. So I would definitely be interested in trying that for sure.
Open-mindedness, why not? Yeah, what's the worst that could happen?
I may have the chance in September at the Crossing Realms conference. I just tuned in to watch the Northern Lights behind Sheldon, but Brent felt the need to crop most of it out. I'm not sure why I'm still here.
Yeah,
hopefully because of the quality entertainment that we offer free of charge, Wes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and Phil said earlier, too, brought up a really good point. I just get in here, and then you need to feel the need to make my head smaller. Another fat joke. Look at that.
Such a dick. I can't believe we're related. I'm such a kind and loving person, and all you do is berate me. Oh.
Everyone called me fat over and over again.
Oh my God, dude. What are you talking about? I have never once said, dude, you're looking kind of chubby. Might want to lay off the Twinkies, I'm just saying.
You're right.
I don't ever do that to you. I'm a loving and supporting father.
I need to stop, otherwise people are going to start believing you.
I know. They're going to start. I'm going to be starting to get crap mail from people. Hi, Laura Pruitt. Good to see you. I don't need to get hate mail, dude. What are you doing? Here, my dad thinks I'm fat. He says so all the time. I do not. I don't do that.
I know.
Anyway, so that's the case. Maybe there's a part of our brain. I wonder who's going to volunteer to get that part of their brain removed to see if that works.
That's God, when you start messing with the brain, that makes me nervous.
I know. It's like that Neuralink thing, which I think is great for people that might have some kind of issues with disability or whatever. Maybe it can help them, like they're in MS state, but their mind's working fine. Maybe they could Neuralink and do things that they couldn't. But just I mean, there's some people I'm sure that want to do it just so they can get their email. It's like, ooh, I have mail.
It's just what happens if it gets hacked. Like, what can it do to you?
Yeah, exactly. You get somebody just trolling them like, you're a retarded chicken. It's like, oh. I'm just saying, I don't know. It's just weird stuff. But apparently there's a part of our brain that might suppress it. Hell, I don't know. I haven't read the study, but if any of you guys read the study, let me know what it says. If it looks like it's kind of interesting or does it look like it's bunky? I don't know. I have no idea. I just bringing you the news.
Lane says, we haven't done mail from the cheap seats in a while.
I haven't got any comments from the cheap seats for a while, but honestly, I've gotten so far behind I haven't had a chance to really crawl through the comments. However, if you look through our episode comments and you find one, please let me know. Because I can only put them on there when they pop up. But honestly, we don't get a lot of hateful comments, thank God, which is good.
That's good.
Which is good. All right, we got one more, and then we're going to get back to the rest of the show. Oh, speaking of Loch Ness, here it is. It's here.
Oh.
The article you were just referring to is also
nice.
Unexplained-mysteries, folks. It has to do with Loch Ness. Once again, not only could you get a job doing it, but it worked. The button worked this time. All right, here we go. First Loch Ness monster photograph of 2025 hailed as fantastic. Sheldon, what did you see? Because this one is hailed as fantastic.
Well, let's take a look at the picture first, and then we'll judge my ability to see.
What's wrong with you? This is fantastic. All right, a new image has emerged showing what appears to be a hump just under the surface of the water, or a log. All right, well, let's see what it says. After a quiet couple of months, this week has seen the reveal of the first Loch Ness monster photograph of the year, courtesy of the Loch Ness Center in Inverness. See image below. We will, but I'm going to read it first. Details remain rather thin on the ground, so we're not sure exactly what where exactly on the loch it was taken, but it appears to show a dark mass or hump partially submerged under the water. Efforts are now underway to analyze the photograph and determine what it could be. We've had numerous observations over the years, but this recent sighting has been particularly captivating, said the center's general manager, Nagina Ishak. I guess. I don't know. The conditions of the day of this sighting were absolutely perfect. This could very well be our first significant sighting of the year, further fueling the mystery surrounding Loch Ness and its most famous resident. As always, we're committed to solving the mystery of Loch Ness, Nessie once and for all. Our previous collaborations allowed us to advance our research efforts significantly, and this potential sighting is a reminder that the mystery of Loch Ness is far from solved. We continue to explore every possibility and are committed to uncovering the truth.
Okay.
Really? Oh my God, is that pixelated though? Look at that. Look at how far they have to zoom in for that though. When you get artifacts like this, you know you're almost at pixel level.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, I mean, that's really big.
Yeah, okay.
Crank.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. Yep.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you know,
That could literally be anything under there. That is not any fraction of the word proof.
no, well, the red circle helps though.
Red circle.
That's how you identify real evidence, Sheldon, is you got to see this. If you see this on an image, that means proof. No.
So iconic.
Could it be? Yeah, but it could also be, you know, I mean, it could be a log, a very waterlogged log. We used to call them deadheads. And they would bob up and down because they're mostly saturated, but there's enough air to keep them somewhat buoyant in the wood. They're not completely saturated, but they would kind of come up and go down, and you'll take out your whole lower unit on them if you drive your boat around. I found that out once on a fishing boat. I sheared the pin really good. There's a pin that holds the prop on the shaft, and I was not paying attention, and all of a sudden that outboard motor just flipped up, and I was like, oh no, and it's like whee. And put it back down in the water, and it wasn't working. There was a lot of rowing involved after that. Kelly Sandford, 10 Canadian dollars. God bless you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
God bless you. So, it would be nice to say this is evidence, but it's not, folks. It's just something in the water, very ambiguous, unidentifiable. It could be, it could be somebody's, swim trunks that washed off. You just don't know. It's a black, something dark underneath the surface of the water. Could it be a
top picture the original? That
what?
Top picture is, because this is the blown up version. Where I agree with Maggie. Where's the original? Like non-zoomed in.
I don't know. I mean, if it's here, it could be in this mess here, but I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. That would have been a great inclusion. And maybe if we followed this, is it just this image? But yeah, I mean, there's certainly, you've got to be, if you're looking at this and you've got to hunt, I mean, there's that. No, I don't see anything for sure. I don't see anything for sure. There's this rough water here. If it was anywhere in the image, it's going to be in here, but I see nothing to jump out and go, ooh, that's a Loch Ness. But
yeah, if that's the original image, like,
yeah,
that wouldn't that mean that ball or that shadow in the water is like really small in the first place?
Well, it's a calm day, and this is the choppy. If this is the source, it's Nessie sighting season again. But this is a Pixabay image, so this is just a random image. So it says the credit is Pixabay Alan Frinians or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce that name. So I don't know. This is from the Loch Ness people at Inverness. So I don't know. I don't think they're one and the same. But if this was a calm day, that means this chop is really small. You're right. I mean, if it was a really rough day and this is the image, then those waves would be huge. But if they said the conditions were perfect, it was very calm. Well, I think it's it's the sighting slithering under the water, and then the picture with the description from whoever saw it. Why photos will never convince anyone, in my humble opinion. Yeah, photographs. It would take more than one. This should be set up. I mean, if you're going to properly offer this as evidence, it should be set up with the original, with the zoom. Get an idea of the scale so we know what we're looking at, how big it is. There's so many ambiguous points about this that we just can't nail down. And this is not the root image. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's... I'm not saying it couldn't be Loch Ness, but I'm just saying there sure as hell isn't enough to go on to say that's the Loch Ness Monster. That just means there's something just under the surface of the water, but it could be anything. It could be
Yeah.
anything. It could even be a good size, I mean, there's eels in there. Could be a good size eel. But if this is a calm day and this is the surface, these waves are tiny. You remember growing up on the lake, Sheldon, how
that's like a small gust of wind, like
Yeah,
just over
exactly.
the water type
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah, that is pretty
so
cool.
literally this could be the size of a baseball.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, if it's a real calm day and the water was almost glass like except for this rough chop, then that's a little breeze, and this is really not big at all. So again, I'm not saying it couldn't be, but I just definitely can't say this is something, you guys. No.
no.
Paradolia, in my opinion, T-Bone says, Werewolf said something, hope your place is less paranormal than when I lost contact. I don't know. What did you lose contact with, D? I don't think you were necessarily talking to me. Maggie says 100%. That water don't look calm. Well, that's the thing. If indeed it was a calm day, and this is the image, and that just shows you how much this has been blown up. Because if, this kind of waves on a calm day would be like when a breeze goes over the water and you get that little ruffle on the surface.
Yeah.
So I don't think that speaks to that being a big sized object. So I'll bet you it's very much like this, probably very close to what this is. And if that's the case, then that object is actually very small. But there's not enough to go on. So what is it? Hell, I don't know. But I don't think it's Nessie.
Nope, I don't think it's.
There you go. But I guess people are excited about it. That's good. No problem.
That's fine. That's cool and all. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep. All right. It could be a Baby Ruth bar. Well, do you know that's from the movie Caddyshack? Did you ever see the movie Caddyshack?
I don't know.
Somebody has a joke. Basically, all the caddies are they have access to the club, the golf club area, and there's a pool and stuff. And so they get caddy day, and they go in and they're just monsters. They're just doing cannonballs and just being maniacs. Well, somebody thinks it's funny to float a Baby Ruth in there, and people think it's a turd. And
my God.
And so they drain the pool, and then you have to see the movie. But anyway, it's
Okay.
pretty hilarious. Pretty hilarious movie. Actually, Sheldon, if you're going to watch a classic movie that's absolutely hilarious, watch Caddyshack.
Caddyshack.
It's one of those all-time classic movies. It's just brilliant.
I'll add it to the list.
And it's a list. There you go. Well, that's going to wrap up the news, folks. Hope you found that you learned something, or at least found it wildly or mildly entertaining, one of the two. And it's the brown shark, Barbara. The brown shark came surfacing. All right, but let's get back to the rest of the show. You got it, T-Bone. Yep, that's the one, Freaky. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the news. But now we're back. We're back. What you doing, Sheldon?
What?
What you doing?
Nothing.
What's going on over there?
Refueling the tank.
Yeah, I'll bet you are. Bet you are. All right, so we are going to get to some article that I pulled up because that's what I like to do. We were going through this article from ranker.com, and these are real ghost stories. And by God, I think it's time for some real ghost stories. What do you think, Sheldon?
I am always down.
You're always down. All right, well, this is written by Christopher Schultz. This is from 2019, October 8th. And we're going to get into this now. Where was I? I got to see where I was. Is this, where the hell am I? I think I just lost my spot. I scrolled up to see who wrote the article. And then I ended up screwing up where I was. Oh yeah, I know where we are. Yep, well, I'm at the right spot. We're on number 6. So this is from ranker.com, folks. Again, ranker.com is a really cool site. There's lists for everything you're interested in, so please check it out. There's some pretty good, they used to have, I think, a lot more, but they still have some pretty good paranormal stuff on there. But you kind of got to dig for it. But there's lists on anything that you're interested in on ranker.com, so check it out, and I'm sure you'll enjoy your visit if you do. So we are on number 6, first college apartment. And again, these are real life ghost stories. So we'll see what they say. Now these again are basically Reddit scrapes. I call these kind of articles Reddit scrapes, where the author will post a question on Reddit, get people to, submit ideas or things that they've experienced, and then they scrape it and come up with the stories for the article. And a lot of these are very small. And they leave a lot of questions as to what was going on. These are only little snippets, but they're still pretty fascinating and cool. So let's check it out. This is the first college apartment, number 6 on the list. And there's nobody attributed to it, so I can't give anybody credit. But it says, my first apartment during college was haunted. We had a really long hallway that led from my room to the front door. And at night, I'd often hear footsteps echoing in the hall when my roommate wasn't home. My dog would hear it too and just start barking and looking out into the hall as if he saw someone there. One night when I was studying, I noticed a sign that I had hanging on my doorknob start swinging back and forth. No windows were open, the AC wasn't on, and there was no reason for it to be moving. I said, "Stop!" and it promptly stopped swinging. A few months later, I found out from the landlord that a few years prior, a tenant had hung himself in the basement. Maybe it was him. Yeah. Sounds like a recipe to me, right?
Jeez.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh like it's funny.
As you continue laughing.
I'm just thinking, yeah, welcome to the Bad Timing Awards. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not funny that somebody, was of course led to that. And, again,
No.
I always say this whenever the topic of self-harm comes up is, if any of you out there listening are dealing with some heavy stuff, please, 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 please reach out and find someone to help you. There's hotlines, there's, family members, there's friends, there's, all kinds of different groups out there of either people you know or people you don't know, but they'll still lend you an ear. So please get the help. There's always hope, and I know life gets heavy. So please, I actually did lose someone very, very important to me from suicide. And it's a scar that I'll carry for the rest of my life. It's just a painful thing. So please, if you need the help, get it. Let somebody help you. So, all right. The next one is writing in the mirror. This is the scary thing that's ever happened to me. Scariest thing. Sorry. Most people I try to tell come up with a logical explanation, but there is none. So after living in my new house for 5 months or so, I decided to take a shower. Maybe you should do it more than every 5 months. I'm just saying. Must be a ripe house.
Oh, no.
It's the low-hanging fruit. You got to take advantage of those. One of my friends had just slept over, and I'd taken a crap ton of showers in that bathroom already. So it's not like it was anything new. So I take my shower, get out to dry off, and look at the steamed up mirror. On the mirror, in perfect writing, no human could do it with their finger. I don't know. How can you make that assessment? Anyway, read something along the lines of, "Dear Father, please forgive me." Well, I completely forgot the rest because I was just so freaked out, but it was terrifying. The bathroom door was locked the entire time, and no one could have gotten in, and it had also never been there any other time that I took a shower. So yeah, no idea what the hell that was, but it scared the hell out of me. I am replacing cuss words with hell, just so you know.
Yeah.
As I'm sure many of you might be reading along. Well, it's, got to take some artistic liberties to keep this a family-friendly show. Number 8, ghostly drumming. I was 19. I used to walk to Denny's from my house every evening around 8 or 9 p.m. Well, there I'd just hang out with my friends, smoke and drink coffee, play cards until 2 or 3 in the morning. And this one particular evening, I left later than usual, probably around 11 p.m. or so. The Denny's was 5.7 miles. Jesus. That person loves them some Denny's from my house. So it was a bit of a walk. So I'm walking along like I'd done dozens of times before, and I get to a wooded area that always got dark, and I started hearing music from a house off the road. Just heavy bass drums, like a real steady beat. Not a big deal, because people out that way always had big parties. I continue walking, but the music just doesn't go away. I stop and listen real carefully, and it sounds more like drums in a continuous loop. There's not another parallel road for a couple of miles from where I am, so I cannot have come from a vehicle. I continue walking, and for about 2 miles, I hear this music. Never gets louder, but it never gets quieter. I stop and listen again, and it sounds a lot like Native American drums. I walk again, quickening my pace. As I walk, listening for the drums that are following me, I start to smell gunpowder. And I walk a mile listening to drums and smelling gunpowder. I may have started getting really creeped out, so I'm not sure if I heard footsteps behind me or if it was just my imagination. I only hear them for a couple 100 feet, and then I walk into a clearing in the woods, and it's just disappeared. The drums stop. I don't smell the gunpowder. No footsteps except mine, just me walking. Well, I get to Denny's entirely shook up, but I didn't share my story for a few days. What do you think of that one, Sheldon?
Sounds like a memory, like a land memory.
Right, like something residual, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. It's hard to know because those are more atmospheric things. So it could have been just in the right place at the right time to be catching that event. Maybe it would have happened every night if you would have walked that same time of the night.
Yeah, that's true.
Or, well, I don't think anything is ever clockwork in the paranormal. Even residual stuff doesn't always happen consistently, but it, can happen regularly.
Good. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible that any of that stuff could just bubble up for any number of reasons. Mm-hmm. So number 9 is Uncle Joe. My brother Joel was killed in an ATV accident a little over 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. My daughter had just turned 3, and she kept waking up in the middle of the night and coming into my room. And when I would take her back to bed, she asked why she was getting up. She would reply, "The guy in my room." And she'd always point to the corner that our dresser was in and swore there was a guy in her room. It says it wasn't long after that she would always talking about Uncle Joe. She's never met him. Really weird. Huh.
Oh yeah. I suppose it would be a year before she was born. So yeah, yes.
It's kind of sweet, but it also, so here's my cautionary part of it. It's like, is it really Uncle Joe? Or is it something that says it's Uncle Joe and it's not Uncle Joe? And that's the creepy part. What are you dealing with? And can you know? So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's potentially a beautiful thing that this is a family member that, has a vested interest in the well-being of these people, and so he's kind of coming and keeping an eye on things. That's the Disney version. The Universal House of Terrors version is it's not Uncle Joe. It's Uncle Satan or something.
Well, have there been any other stories where something appears like someone you know, and it wasn't them? Has there ever been any ghost stories like that where there's an imitation?
No, there's like a gajillion of those. Sometimes it looks like people have seen full-bodied apparitions in one story. Look just like a deceased uncle. Like every detail was just perfect except the eye color was all wrong. And they were like, oh. So they didn't really believe that it was truly their deceased relative, that it was something else that was trying to appear like the uncle that had passed or the grandfather or whatever. And I don't remember the exact details, but I remember that this person was just like, there he was. He stood right there, except then I noticed the eyes. And the eyes were a different color completely, like from like the real one would have had blue eyes and the vision before them had like brown eyes. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense, you know? So how would it get that one detail wrong if it was really the person? Well, I don't know.
Lena.
It says what? Lena? Lina. Lena?
Oh, Lena.
But it's not capitalized. It's small L. I don't know what that means. Lena. Maybe it was a Lena. Maybe it was a woman thing. I don't know. Maybe it was a female. I thought it was a male, though, as I recalled. But at any rate.
I don't know why that actually infuriates me. That a dark entity would use like something close to you, something like you love, and then use it against you like that. That's actually really infuriating to me.
Well, it's diabolical, but it's, you know, I mean, if indeed, let's just say the dark entities, many of them are believed to feed off of the living in some manner, whether it's feeding off of or opening them up to become vulnerable. Well,
yeah,
it's kind of like the child ghost thing. It's if you know, a well-adjusted adult is going to be almost genetically programmed to go, that's a child that needs help. I need to help that child. That's just, it's almost like a moral imperative or a biological imperative, whatever. And so these dark, horrible things allegedly appear like children because when people want to help them, oh, you can be here. You can be here. You know, well, you can make this your home too. And so they open themselves wide open to whatever its true intentions are. And it turns out sometimes, maybe many times, it's not actually a child that you're speaking to. It's something appearing like a child. But it's I mean, if you look at nature is a great example of this. You got bugs that look like sticks or leaves or whatever to avoid predation. But then you've got like moths that can, you know, look like a bird, a huge bird face or a butterfly so that things won't attack it. I mean, the whole idea of mimicry is common in our natural world. So, I mean, it's as far as predation, you get to these spiders that dig holes and then they'll pop out and grab things. It looks like just an innocent hole, you know, so it can be used as predation or defense. But in this case, I think it's a predation thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
just twisted.
It is. But, you know, it's not uncommon, you know, even in the natural world. Don't show the horns right away, Phil Funk says. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Butterflies in my stomach. What?
Well, that's right. A Little Twisted said that's their name, apparently.
What is?
Lena.
Oh, Lena. That's your name. Oh, okay. Lena. Okay. Well, there you go. It didn't say anything else. So it's just your name. Just a name. Maybe your name, but it's a small L. Though, which surprises me because usually if it's a proper noun, it capitalizes them. So I don't know. That's weird. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Don't have butterflies in your stomach. You're safe among us. You are a geology nerd. You're actually a geology genius. I didn't say nerd. You said nerd. I said you were brilliant. But that's not the only thing you're brilliant about. You talked for hours about all kinds of different things. I was like, wow, this guy knows like everything. So Justin Goodearth is one of those guys he could probably build or do pretty much anything he put his mind to. He's just one of those people. All right, let's go to number 10, Halloween Nightmare. When I was about 12 years old, I had a dream shortly before Halloween. In the dream, I was out trick-or-treating on Halloween night, And I was in this overgrown woodsy area in my neighborhood running away from a house a couple of blocks away from where I lived. Well, I realized that I was running from the ghost of a woman when I saw her come flying towards me. I woke up in a cold sweat. Well, that December, I found out that that house that I'd been running from in the dream belonged to an older woman. She lived alone and didn't have any family in the area. A friend of my mother's was delivering Christmas cookies and found her deceased in the house. They estimated that she had been there since about August. Oh, no. I don't actually believe in ghosts, but it was very strange.
How could you say that? God, I never understand people like that.
See, now that's another one of those things that, I mean, you could chalk it up to just a random nightmare, but how specific is that?
That is extremely specific.
Yeah, that to me is pretty good evidence for ghosts. Now,
I don't actually believe ghosts. It's really weird. It's like, what?
Those are the weirdest stories. I know. Those are the weirdest stories. These people have these profoundly potent experiences. And the story will start out with, I don't believe in ghosts, but this one time. And then they'll tell you this amazing chain of events. And it's like, but then they end with, but I don't believe in ghosts. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it's like, what?
What
there was your proof right there.
What do you think it was then at that point? I don't know. It's very, very strange. Number 11, Trish is in it. On the night my mom died at about 7 p.m., her very old grandfather, who was about 99, was getting ready for bed in a nursing home about 200 miles away. He was just about to get into bed when he stopped and said that he couldn't because Trish was in it and sat patiently in his bedside chair. At about 10 past 7, he smiled and said, she's gone now, and got into bed. And this was witnessed by an aunt. I wonder if when people die, they don't give out some kind of final communication. And I was with my mom as she died, but she didn't speak to me, though. So who knows? I think a real common thread may very well be that when you pass, and this comes up sometimes in NDEs, that people talk about how they're suddenly with their mom or their dad or an uncle or a cousin or some people that are important to them, that they'll be suddenly, they see their body and then suddenly, boom, they're standing in their parents' room or something watching them, or they're right there with them. And so I wonder if it's just something to do with the emotional connections that as these things happen, when the people are thinking, oh, what about my mom and dad? Boom. Then suddenly you go there. It's like an instant thing. But and that's just speculation on my part, but it does seem to come up quite a bit that people talk about either witnessing people who had just died before they knew that they had passed, or people having NDEs have talked about suddenly they were, they were in the hospital undergoing this big surgery and they're in the car with their parents who are on their way to the hospital because something was going wrong or there was something important that they needed to get there right away. Like they knew that this person was in trouble. So they just hurry and rush to the hospital. Well, people talk about being in the back seat, seeing their parents driving quickly to get to the hospital to be there. And so, I don't know, these connections, these emotional connections, I think are powerful and perhaps maybe it's some kind of quantum emotional entanglement or something. I don't know.
Well, it could also be the person's sensitivity to that kind of thing too that affects it as well.
Could be. Yeah, exactly. But this Trish is in it. We read one other time too on a different article, but it's interesting that it came up again. I guess they must have recycled it. Anyway, it's a cool story.
Yeah.
So number 12, the weirdness. And then I'm gonna see how much is left here. Yeah, I think we'll finish this and then we'll get to the cryptids. The weirdness. We moved to our new house in 1970s when I was 5. The weirdness started pretty much straight away. The first thing we were there, the first night we were there, my dad's watch, a typical 1970s stainless steel brick of a thing, which he always put on his bedside table, was found in the morning to be completely dismantled, like someone had taken a lump hammer to it. Even the main spring had been stretched out, all 18 inches from my sleeping dad's head. Over the next 40 years, we had all kinds of weirdness, from sudden temperature drops and cold spots, which moved. And I regularly had to move my bed around every month or so, which were so extreme I can remember my breath condensing in June. Wow, that's cold. One evening we came home and found the hatch to the attic ajar. It was never open normally, and there were muddy paw prints all around it on the ceiling. We didn't have a dog. What the hell do you do with muddy paw prints on the ceiling?
What?
That's moving.
Unless he means like in the floors of the attic, maybe.
No, in the ceiling. It sounds like on the ceiling, going to the hatch to the attic is what it sounds like.
Oh, that's screwed up. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd say on the attic floor.
I suppose. Yeah.
We have an antique clock which apparently hadn't worked since before I was born and was kept as a sort of ornament. The hands on the clock would change time when you weren't looking at it. Literally. It would be on, say, 6:45. You'd look away and then look back, and it would be 3:30. I remember a perfect circle of thunderflies. I know I read this one too because I said, wonder if they mean fireflies. On the ceiling over my bed, which is just sort of evaporated. And they were forever hearing people or furniture moving around in rooms that we knew were empty. I was 5 when we moved there, and the oldest of 3 kids. Although none of us would ever sleep with the light off, I don't ever remember being scared. Looking back, I remember us talking about the ghost almost like an irritating, eccentric relative. After we had extensive work done on the house in the early 80s, the ghost settled down for a bit, and there was a lot less weirdness. The last time it made its presence felt was about 5 years ago. My dad was away, and my bro was popping in to check that all was well. As always, he went through the house, turning the lights on before he went into a room and then off as he left. Eventually, he was back at the front door about to leave, switched the light off. It was dark out. And as the hallway went dark, someone gave a breathy gasp right in his ear. After he got a control of himself and stopped accelerating, he had to go back and shut the front door. So he just noped right out of there. For the record, I'm an atheist who regularly has seen ghosts throughout my life. I don't believe in the undead or in restless spirits or New Age hoodoo. I have no idea what caused the weirdness in my house. Oh, and one last thing. When I was about 20, I'm 46 now, for what it's worth, I met a woman completely randomly who had lived in the same house in the mid-60s, who told me she remembers it as a warm and friendly place with no weirdness of any sort.
I was literally saying at the beginning of the story, I swear, if they say they don't believe in ghosts by the end of this. Oh my God.
Well, I think they're not saying they don't believe in, well, they know they've seen something, but they said they're an atheist and they don't believe in restless spirits or New Age hoodoo. But what the hell do you believe then? What is going on then? How do you
qualify
like
they're agnostic, not atheist.
Could be. I don't know. But at any rate, I think I'm going to stop this here because that's the second repeat that we've had. And I don't know. I think maybe most of these are a repeat. So we'll get to the next part of our show, Sheldon. Are you ready for
the corner?
The corner. It's time.
Yeah,
it's time, ladies and gentlemen, because before we run out of time, we should probably make sure we hit the cryptid corner. What do you think?
Yes.
Let's do it. There you have it. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the cryptid corner. And I don't know if Wes is still here, but we're going to start the journey in his house. His house, which is SasquatchChronicles.com, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that right now because it's a good place to start. If you don't check out SasquatchChronicles.com, you're really missing a big part of what Wes does. And he posts a lot of things on there. Sometimes there are other shows like ours. He'll post some Paranormal Portal podcasts, etc. He posts from a lot of different creators, so you always have a lot of links of things to check out, but he also posts his listener emails. And I find those to be really, really fascinating because not all of them become shows, and yet they're still really cool experiences. And my position has always been, look, you don't have to have a Hollywood level event to be experiencing the paranormal. Anything is phenomenal. You know, if you see strange light anomalies in your house, that's phenomenal. If a cereal bowl moves, that's phenomenal. It doesn't have to be, doors opening and closing, telling you to get out, that kind of crazy, crazy stuff. And a lot of people kind of are conditioned that way. Like I've talked to so many people like, well, I don't know, my stories are really a big deal, but they were really wild. And then we talk and it's like, these are all incredible events. So I really love it. And I hope you guys go check out SasquatchChronicles.com, the blog, and go through that. But I'm going to take you through a few of them right now.
All right.
Here we go from March 7th, today. This one's today old. Strange experience while hiking. A listener writes, my daughter may have seen a Bigfoot. Back in January, my daughter wanted to go on a walk after dinner. She wanted to walk down to the water not far from our house. Well, I reluctantly agreed. The reason I was reluctant was up to that point, I've had a few experiences that led me to believe Sasquatch may live in or travel around this area. These experiences ultimately are what led me to discover your show. So my daughter and I, along with a small dog, my small dog, headed out for our walk. My daughter and I wore headlamps to light our way. The road to the water is unlit and travels through a protected wetland that dead ends at the river. The first thing that happened that in hindsight was a real red flag was my dog did not want to walk down that road. Several times she stopped and tried to pull back. Well, about 3/4 of the way down there was a tire track in the dirt road that had frozen over. My 7-year-old could not resist immediately jumping on the ice. It made a loud, hollow crumble noise as the ice exploded beneath her feet. Almost immediately after she did this, there was a very heavy thud on the ground off to the left, about 50 feet into the woods. I immediately stopped my daughter from making noise and listened for about 45 seconds or so. I heard nothing, so we continued on. We reached the water, turned around, and started to head back without incident. We made it about 90% back to the end of the road where we came up on another frozen tire track that apparently my daughter had overlooked on the way down. Well, curious, I asked my daughter to jump on the ice like she did the first time. Well, she did so, and this time, almost immediately after the ice broke, off to the left of the road, the opposite side as the first time, there were strange, somewhat high-pitched whoops that were crossed with a chatter at the end that went on for several seconds. I could tell there were two noises coming from the same area in the woods because the vocals would overlap at times. We froze immediately. We stood still for several minutes after these strange noises were heard. And during this time, I was slowly panning my headlamp all around, looking to see if I could see anything. And as I was looking back down the trail towards the water, my daughter suddenly ran into me from behind and just latched onto me. She did this and she said, "Daddy, a man. There's a man up there." I asked her where, and she pointed in the opposite direction, the way we were headed. And she said he crossed the road up there. I kept searching that area up ahead, but I couldn't see anything. We cautiously continued on. She let me know where she saw the man cross the road as we approached the area, and there was no evidence of anything having crossed there. We stood there for a few minutes to look and listen, but nothing was observed. Back at the house, I asked her what the man looked like, and all she could describe was that he was big and black and that it walked across the road up in front of us. And she could tell it was looking at us. We went for a walk a few days later down the same road at about the same time with no issue. My dog didn't pull away like she did the first time. Yeah, that's creepy. That's really creepy because you don't know what are they doing. I mean, again, you like to think that they're just doing Bigfoot stuff, if indeed it is a Bigfoot. But what if they're looking for lunch? At the worst, the best case scenario is they're just looking at your dog. The worst case scenario is you might be on the menu too. And I'm not saying that I truly believe that these things go out of their way to hurt people, but what if they're starving? At some point, I mean, even starving people have eaten pretty bizarre things that you wouldn't normally even consider. Think of the Donner Party in Oregon. I mean, they kind of just, there was like back during the covered wagons days, they were trying to make a mountain pass in Oregon during the winter, and they got snowed in and stuck.
Oh.
And they ran out of food.
Oh.
Or did they?
Catching your drift.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was there was a airplane accident where they had to do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so maybe they wouldn't choose to eat us, but maybe they don't have any choice. You don't know what kind of situation they're in. So that's my thing. It's like, I would love to think that they're peaceful and benevolent and wise and wonderful guardians of the forests or whatever, but I also can't ignore the First Nations stories of people being taken from villages never to be seen again. So
I still wonder about some of those missing 411.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I'm
sure not all of them, but some of them.
Maybe some of them, yeah. I mean, you can't ignore that possibility. I mean, that would be foolish, right? So yes. I don't know. I'd love to think that they're probably just peaceful and benevolent and kind and wise and sage-like, and maybe they are. But if they get hungry enough, I bet you they could be something else entirely.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. That's just my take. Whatever that's worth. All right, let's go to the next one. This one is from February 27th. I guess that's not long ago. It feels like when you see February pop up, oh, this is an old one. It's like, no,
that's just
last week. Yeah, this is last week old.
Yeah.
Just shows you how disconnected we get.
Yeah.
I guess, we're on March 7th now, so.
Lord.
It's literally 8 days ago. That's not too old.
Oh. Joshua Orban Castro, thank you.
Josh Casto coming in with the gifts. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. Gifted 5 memberships. Woo. And it looks like Bad Actor got one. Okay, good. Hey. Drew's Scottish Vlogs. Good to see you, Drew. Thanks for coming in. And then we got Sarah in Disguise, Grey Wolf, and 3M Farm. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. And thank you, Josh, for making that possible, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Justin's YouTube crashed. Oh, no. None of the others did, though. Okay. Well, yeah, YouTube can get real flaky. There's no question. There's no question. All right, here we go. February 27th to this day. I cannot listen to the Sierra Sounds. Now, Sheldon, are you familiar with Sierra Sounds?
Yes, the Samurai Speak, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep. See how much you've learned since you've been on these shows.
Yep, I've learned a lot from being on these shows, yes.
Yep, you've picked up a whole new line of interests.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's see what this one says. A listener writes, despite having unusual occurrences from a much younger age, my experience occurred in 1986 in an area called Grizzly Creek Canyon near Glenwood Springs when I was 17 years old. And this is an area that my family had backpacked for generations. My grandfather and his brother discovered it somehow, and when my dad was old enough, they would bring him. And he in turn would take his younger teenage brother and his brothers-in-law when he was a young adult, and eventually began taking us after he was married and had children. Well, let me start by saying that I hated this place. It had a very creepy vibe, and I always felt uncomfortable, like I was being watched and intruding. I remember once telling my sister that the energy of the place was, if you had to walk on eggshells or risk pissing off Mother Nature and face her wrath. And now that I'm an adult, I understand this feeling is a very strong sense of dread, but I didn't know how to vocalize it at the time. We camped and backpacked in several locations of Colorado, and this place was the only one that I truly loathed going to. The area is strictly a backpacking area. No vehicles can access this canyon floor, and it's a rigorous hike. You can access the area by a long wandering drive up past the timberline, and then begin the descent to the bottom of the canyon. So the hike in is way easier than the hike out. The reason I mention this is because my dad always got some kind of weird man pride about beating his companions out of the canyon on the hike home because it was hard. Without exception, nearly every time we backpacked there, we would find abandoned campsites, and my dad would always chortle when he saw these abandoned sites because he believed the campers weren't strong enough to make it out and chose to leave their gear behind to lighten the load. I always thought this was odd for such a remote area, as we had never seen another living soul on all of the trips we went. And backpacking equipment is expensive, so it would seem like a last resort to leave your gear just because the hike out is rigorous. And the abandoned sites weren't just abandoned. They were destroyed. Tents shredded and ripped apart. Clothes and coats tossed everywhere. Backpacks and backpack cook stoves mangled, twisted, bent, and tossed into the tops of the trees. Super weird. And my dad's explanation for it was always animals. Well, I agree, a bear can destroy a tent and possibly a backpack and stove, but would it carry it up into a tree? This explanation for that was always the same. Porcupines. We would clean the sites by burning the flammable leftovers and carrying out and disposing of the non-flammable items. I need to take a moment to describe the terrain we are in. As I mentioned, the canyon hike starts above the timberline, and we are on the north side. The forest on this side is primarily aspen. When you cross the creek, which we never did, the woods are incredibly dense pine, spruce, fir, etc., mingled with chokecherry and other high-altitude shrub vegetation. The canyon floor is primarily high mountain meadow and grass with sporadic groves of aspen and pine. The trees by the creek were primarily ponderosa pine on both sides of the creek, and we usually chose to camp right next to the creek or in one of the groves further from the water. The day we had an encounter was our first day on the trip. On this occasion, it was my whole family, so myself, 17, my two sisters, 15 and 13, my young brother, 7, both parents, and 2 dogs. The minute I hit the tree line, the sense of dread was stronger than usual and almost overwhelming. I glanced at my sister and she just nodded, and I could tell that she felt it too. We found our favorite site and set up camp, and on this trip, there was minimal debris left behind, mostly clothes, which we burned. The whole day I still felt uneasy, as if I was being watched or intruding, and we decided to take a hike down the canyon, and after several hours of hiking, came to a large clearing of flat rock that jutted out over a fishing hole in the creek. The entire area of this clearing was littered with clothing, some very old that appeared to be from the 60s or 70s or 80s. Some of the clothes were in the trees and some were piled around the rock area. It was very creepy and the place smelled bad. I felt the strongest urge to get the hell out of there and I asked my dad what the hell this place was, and he floated the idea that it was a homeless camp, which did not make me feel any better. But no homeless person would survive there. And if so, why throw your clothing into the top of those trees? After several minutes of me and my sister begging him, he agreed to leave. We made it back to camp, and my dad sent me and my sister to the creek just to get some water. And while we were getting water, the dread and fear nearly overwhelmed me because I could feel it coming from in front of me, from the conifer side of the canyon, and you couldn't see more than 6 to 10 inches into the woods. I asked her about it too, and she agreed. She said something I will never forget. She said, as I look into the woods across the creek, I wouldn't be surprised to see a big angry ape staring back at me. We made it back to our campsite, and other than feeling uneasy, the rest of the day was uneventful. Until it wasn't. It was night, and we were sitting around the campfire talking, and then all hell broke loose at once. A foul smell came into the camp. I remember saying, "Oh my God, what is that smell?" But before I could finish that sentence, the dogs went crazy, barking and growling, staring past our campfire behind the tent, and my dad, yelling for my mom to get the gun, was holding the dogs back by their scruff, and they were pulling so hard that they were actually standing on their hind legs. Then whatever it was vocalized at us loud, and it was not very far away, just outside the light of our campfire. I felt the vibrations in my body as this thing yelled at us. It was an undulating, garbled, deep-throated yell as it vocalized 2 or 3 times, and each time the sound started slow and then built in intensity. I spent my life trying to describe what I heard, and it was impossible to duplicate. I finally read Ron Moorhead's book about 5 years ago, and he included the recordings, and sure enough, there it was. The same garbled, angry sound you play in your introduction. This is talking about Wes's show. He plays some of the Sierra sounds in his intro. To this day, I have to skip your intro because when I hear that clip, I still have physiological responses to it. Then as quickly as it came, the smell dissipated. The dogs calmed down, and we didn't hear another sound. I do remember diving into the tent and then crying when I realized the tent was not going to protect me from whatever made that sound. The sound was unlike anything I have ever heard, and it was not an elk, bear, or a mountain lion. I have more stories too from my dad and my grandfather about strange things that happened to them throughout the years, and if you're interested in hearing them, but I assume this email is already probably longer than you wanted to read. I also have some weird things that would happen to us in another area that we would civilize camp on the backside of Pikes Peak. And most recently, about 2 years ago, I was rock hounding in a crystal mine in Arkansas and had that same dreadful sense of presence and ran across some footprints that I took photos of, if you'd like to see those. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Wow. That's pretty intense.
That's a very intense encounter there.
Yeah. Yikes.
See, I mean, we were just talking about no, we don't know for sure, but we were just talking about the 411 stuff, and all of a sudden where they were hiking, there's a bunch of clothes that are just on top of trees.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. That
is very strange.
Yeah, the whole destroyed campsite. It's like they want to destroy whatever we leave behind. You know, it's like obviously people are not real welcome in this area. Take a hit, for God's sakes, you know?
Oh, my Lord.
I don't know. creepy stuff. That was a really, really well written story, though. Kind of
Again,
brought
it
you
was
into the
more-
experience.
It was more tactics. It wasn't like actual brute force. It was just you know, get the hell out of here. More
But
psychological. I'm going to scare you out of here, not like I'm going to tear you to shreds to get out of here.
right, I mean, it's not over the top right off the bat, but they do that, and that's something that I marvel at. That really, to me, speaks of a profound intelligence. Is that they create discomfort, and they make sure that you're never comfortable. And then just when you start maybe adjusting to it, they crank it up a little more and a little more. And it becomes these incredibly horrifying events, for lack of a better term. It's like, what are you going to do? I mean, you just can't get comfortable. And that's why I think it's intelligent, because, I mean, it's a military tactic, the old psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Just keep cranking up the pressure so that, I mean, you're not getting sleep, you're not feeling restful, you're not feeling at ease, you're always on edge. The last thing you want to do is stay. So, I mean, it's brilliant, really, but it surprises me that they're that strategic. So that, to me, really speaks of intelligence.
And plus, I mean, we've said this many times, of course, but if they go too crazy, like if they start attacking people out of nowhere, that's going to drive up heat and make people start hunting those areas, finding out what is attacking people.
Right.
So they know they can't go too nuts. Like there's a limit.
Well,
And they stick with, seems like they either stick to that psychological torture, or if they're gonna go crazy, they make sure there's like no one to tell the story, I'm assuming.
yeah. It's like Eric said in the chat, don't want to wound, but scare you. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And and that's a good point, because if they did physically hurt people, then people would find out, and you're right, it would just push. And that's another sign of intelligence. It's like they do it just enough to get you out of there, but not enough that you can, probably that would cause many, many more people to come and try to, go through this area. So it's enough to agitate and get people the hell out, but it's not enough to cause, big groups of people to have to come in with, rifles and stuff.
It's incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
Like they know the line. They know the line. But then again, I'll admit, this could be survivorship bias too. What if there are people who, like kind of like the 411 stories, who are disappearing, and whole families who are just,
Oh, sure.
being taken, so to speak.
Yep.
And we just don't hear about them because they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I just think they want them out, and they're going to get them out. Dean says a Yowie broke his ribs. Well, I saw Dean was all banged up. That's Australian Yowie research. Dean Harrison. Oh. Yeah, I saw his pictures, and I commented on him. And Dean's a great guy. He's been on the show. But I didn't know how he got hurt, so I'm fascinated to maybe learn more. I just figure he must have fell or something while he was researching.
Oh,
but I'm gonna have to. If you have more information on that, Maggie, please let me know.
Yeah,
I guess
okay.
I hadn't looked into it more. Dean has had several run-ins with the Yowies over in Australia, and he also saw a thylacine once. So, yeah, he's the one that was looking for a Bigfoot and ended up having a thylacine come up right up to him.
He
And
thought
he's
it
like,
was a dog.
and he's shooing it away like, go. I'm trying.
God.
When he tells the story, it's like, oh my God, you were right. I mean, you had the discovery of the century.
Yes, he did.
He's a great guy. That's a really good guy. So yeah, very interesting. But again, it's very strategic, and that is definitely an intelligence, a measure of intelligence.
Yes.
And strategic intelligence, because they not only do just enough to get people up, but they seem to be very acutely aware of the effect their actions have on people. So like they're just doing enough to get you the hell out, because that's what they want. And probably most of those campsites were the same thing. They finally got pushed out and like, hell no, just go. Let's get to the truck. And then they brutalize the stuff that's left over. Like, yeah, get out. So,
God, I wonder, because one thing, we hear that you read over and over again is that, we can always feel when we're being watched by them. And I mean, in general, we can kind of tell when people are watching us too. So
sure.
it's like they're also aware of that sixth sense too, and they're using it for that advantage as well.
Well, yeah, and then if you consider things like mind speak and stuff, that
Yeah.
maybe they are telepathic, and I'm not saying that's impossible. I just again, I don't understand the mechanics of it, but I think all living things are telepathic to some measure. These things just seem to be much more aware of it than we are. So
Yeah. Oh, Maggie says I'll check my comment as I can't remember if maybe he fell when it charged him, but I'll look anyway.
yeah, please do. I mean, I just would love more information on that, because I just kind of disregarded it as, oh, Dean took a fall, and getting older sucks. I'm speaking from experience there. The gravity is much more powerful now than when I was younger. At least its effects are.
Yeah.
So let's get to this one. Maybe I'll. No, again, we have a guest tomorrow night. We're going to be introducing Mr. Olderson to you guys, in case you're not already familiar. But if you watch Tex and Rob and the other shows, Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and several others, they've been there investigating. Monica, I think, has been over there investigating the Dogman Ranch. So he's going to be with me tomorrow night, talking about all of the strangeness going on in that property down there. And
Fantastic.
yeah, it's really fantastic. I'm really excited to have him on. Tex was going to join us tomorrow night, but he's got an interview. He's got to be interviewed by another show. So Mr. Ollerson came in and decided he's going to be a part of the show. So I'm really thrilled he's going to be here. It'll be a lot of fun. So tune in tomorrow night as well. And I'm not closing the show at this point, but I just wanted to throw that out there to remind you guys tomorrow night. It's going to be a good one. So here we are, Sasquatch Chronicles blog, February 27th again. Another one from February 27th. To this day, just read that one. Can't listen to the Sierra sounds. Rather than reread this one, let's go to a new one.
There we go.
All right, let's do this. Here it is. Weird encounters from my life. Again, February 27th. I knew that was the same date. I just clicked on the wrong article and forgot to close the last one. So here we go. Here we go. Are you all ready? You want to hear it? Here you go. Listener writes, I live in southwest corner of Missouri. Where these encounters happened was on my parents' property, which is just a few miles from the Mark Twain National Forest. I have two stories that I'm pretty positive was Bigfoot, and one that's just a strange noise that I can't pinpoint. The first encounter happened when I was about 12, I'd say, so about the year 2000. A little preface, my grandpa had bought this small camper trailer and stripped the insides to use as an old school bus. To use in an old school bus, he was converting to a camper. My cousin and I made it into our own little playhouse and played in it all the time. It was parked on the edge of the wood line about 125 feet from my aunt and uncle's house. We decided to sleep in it one night, along with two of my other cousins, so when dark came, we got ourselves all set up and just went to bed. We woke up at some point in the night and had to go to the bathroom, so we walked up to the house and did our business, and then we headed back to the camper. I'm not sure how long it had been. We had been back and gotten ourselves settled and such, but I'm going to guess somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour. We were all awoken to something hitting the door handle on the camper. Now this camper had one of those doors like the 3 frosted window panes in it, so you couldn't see a definitive shape of any kind of features. But it was hitting the door handle, and all the windows were blocked out black, so it was taking up every bit of space outside of that door. That went on for about 30 seconds, maybe, and then it stopped, and we had nothing else happen, and we didn't leave that camper until daylight. My second story happens a few years later, and this is actually about 2 or 3 miles as the crow flies just down the road from where the first story happened. My dad and uncle shared the property where the first story happened, and then a few years later, my aunt and uncle bought some property just down the road from there. So my cousin and I decided to go camping down in the gully on that property. We basically lived in tents during the summer when we were kids. We were always camping out at the other property where my parents still live, so this wasn't a first-time adventure for us. So the camping site we picked was down the hill from my cousin's house, at the bottom of the gully by the creek bed, which was dry. I thought it said day, and I was trying to make sense of which was day. What? I'd say it's about half a mile from the house, and we got in our tent all set up earlier that day and headed back up to the house for dinner and such before we headed back down for the night. It's starting to get dark, so we head down to the tent and get inside, and we always brought a deck of cards with us and a knife and a flashlight, of course, our sleeping bags and pillows, and that was basically it. So we played cards for a bit before deciding to go to sleep. One of their dogs had followed us down, so he was asleep outside the tent, and we were all awoken to the dog absolutely freaking out and running around the tent, whimpering and whining and losing its mind. So, of course, we were startled awake and on alert, and then all of a sudden we hear what we can only describe as a huge gorilla sound. It sounded like 3 big grunt sounds. So we get the flashlight and unzip the very top of the tent and stick the flashlight out and peek out eyes, peek our eyes out and try to see what it was. We didn't see anything, of course. The dog finally settled down or just took off. I'm not sure which, but what is odd is we never heard any footsteps or rustling or any sounds of an animal walking off or away from the tent after we heard those sounds. It, of course, took a long time to fall back asleep as I'm laying there shaking so bad. Well, I've talked to my cousin about both of these since they happened, and her memory is just as mine is, but she tries to rationalize it and chalk it up to something other than Bigfoot. My third story, like I said, is just a strange noise, but I'm not sure what to make of it, and neither of my cousins can say what it was either. As kids, we basically lived in the woods. I mean, all day, every day, we were somewhere traipsing through the woods, so we were very familiar with our landscape and the sounds of the animals. One day, me and 2 of my cousins were down by the pond, and we had we had in a small clearing before you head into the thick woods, and it was late summer, so the pond was dry, and we're standing in the middle of it just goofing around when all of a sudden we hear this noise that I can only describe as a pack of wild hogs and a bunch of growling. Needless to say, we looked at each other and sprinted for dear life back up the hill. I can still hear that sound in my head, and I have no idea what even compares it to and what it could possibly be. I have a few quick stories of incidents that happened to my dad and my husband as well as my kids. So sounds like they definitely live in a hot spot of sorts, yeah?
Jeez, yeah.
How do you like that, Sheldon?
Creepy.
Creepy, it's all creepy.
Ugh. But tactics along with curiosity, or no? Just thinking of the camper, like jiggling the door. No, that's probably a get out of there sign. But it's around the property of the house, so.
I think that they're also wildly curious. Yeah, I think there's definitely merit to that. Like, well, what's going on in that thing? You know, like, which I don't know if they would have a word for vehicle or not, but you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, what's going on? What are they all piled in there for? What is that? Because I think, you know, as many people have said, I've heard it from many, many people, we are their entertainment. And that makes sense to me because, if they are intelligent, which seems to be appropriate to say, then wouldn't they be intrigued by whatever we're up to? It's like, well, what are they doing? What are all those weird lights and sounds and smells and things like that? So they'd probably be very interested in coming in and checking it out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
find that
it's
fascinating.
I do lean on the side of curiosity. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it makes sense. Could have possibly been a juvenile. Yeah, Eric, you're right. I mean, it could be. I think the juveniles are, of course, are probably much more inquisitive, just because kids. I mean, come on, kids. They're always more curious. They're always wanting to poke their nose into things that maybe they shouldn't or whatever. But it is fascinating. But I don't know. Again, we just don't know. Nobody knows. If anybody ever tells you, I'll tell you all about Sasquatch, what they are, what they aren't.
No.
I'm not willing to go there. I'm just not willing to entertain that. No matter how well informed they think they are, nobody knows anything. We just don't know anything. And the only thing we know is basically whatever information we can glean from these kind of reports. And as you're hearing these reports, I mean, there's so many questions. Well, what are they doing? What do they want? What could they be after? What do they do? Now, some of them seem to be self-explanatory, like the camping one. They didn't like going to this campground. They felt uncomfortable there, this camping area in the mountains. And sure enough, something was there that didn't like them there either. Well, that's a territorial thing. Okay, I think you can pretty safely assess that they don't like it when we encroach on wherever they are. Like they become really uncomfortable. However, equally, I think if we're not really encroaching on them, they oftentimes come to us just to see, what are you doing? What is all that for? Just this curiosity thing that's, also speaks to their intelligence. Because, I mean, if a dog is curious, it'll run around, sniff a little bit and be like, well, I can't eat it. Okay. And then that's it. That's like the level of curiosity that a dog or a canid animal or even a big cat or whatever is going to produce. It's like, it's not food. Well, I'm hungry. I better keep going. I mean, that's their investigative level. They're not like, what happens if I touch this? What does this do? But these Bigfoots, Sasquatch, possibly Dogman, definitely seem more keenly interested in what's going on, and they will investigate things. And that's, again, another statement to intelligence. I think it's pretty safe to surmise that these things are intelligent.
Yeah, I think so. I would bet on it. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know. Again, we're not trying to make any assessments here. I will be the first to tell you I'm not qualified. I have a lot of ideas, but at any rate, it's fascinating because I think the one thing we can be at least pretty sure about is the fact that people are seeing and experiencing something out there.
Yes.
And it's some things out there, I should say. It's not just one thing. I don't think, even in these stories, this could be several different phenomena. We just always defer to Bigfoot. That's the first one that we all defer to. Unless you've seen it. And then you can go, well, it was huge, but it didn't look like a Bigfoot. It had wolf ears or, looked like a dog's head or no, it was a man size, but it was bald and had no hair and no clothing. I mean, there's several different creatures that it could be. But we default to Bigfoot first because that's the most readily accessible explanation we have for these unknown creatures. So
it's the comfort choice.
it's the choice of champions. Yeah, it could be. Anyway, I don't know, but the night got away from us, Sheldon.
It always does.
It does indeed.
So I get so locked into these stories. Yeah, time just flies.
It does, yeah, but it's fun to ponder. It's fun to discuss and explore ideas. And I don't know, folks. It looks like the first show back is coming to a close. So, Sheldon, you got anything in to end with?
Oh, absolutely. This broken record always has the same thing to say. Guys, don't forget paranormalportal.net. Check out the home base of the Paranormal Portal, where you can always keep yourself up to date with the podcasts, new episodes, as well as your own interview me button. You can schedule your very own interview for your very own awesome experiences. As well as here, I'm going to put right in the chat here, Discord link for all you guys to check out the awesome discussions, all the threads, all the amazing people and discussions and links all in one place. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing, but you all are amazing most of all because you guys come here and listen to us flap our gums about all this weirdness. And I couldn't be more grateful and thankful for you guys being here. So thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the journey. And I'll be back tomorrow night again. Olerson's going to be here with me, and we're going to be talking about Dogman Ranch down in Texas. So, I've never talked to the man before, so it's going to be an interesting discussion. But I can't wait to dig into what they've experienced. And apparently his family's been down there for generations. So it's I'm sure he's got a lot to share with us. So tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10 p.m. Eastern. I guess it's 9 p.m. Central. You too can be a part of the journey. So watch for that tomorrow night. Wherever you're watching now, that's where it'll appear tomorrow night. So that's about all I got for you as well. Thank you all. And remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And see you tomorrow night. So take care, everybody. Love y'all in the chats. Love y'all that are just kicking back, watching, and listening. I really do appreciate it. So until tomorrow, I'm going to roll the credits. Good night, everybody.
Good night.